We've done a lot of work on our Explore California book already. Now, let's go ahead and preview our work on the iPad itself. To begin, make sure your iPad is plugged into your computer's USB port via the dock connector cable. Then, touch on the iBooks icon to launch the iBooks application on your iPad. Now, back in iBooks Author, go ahead and click the Preview button up in your toolbar. The entire iBook that you've created will need to be compiled and then loaded onto your iPad so you're able to test it. After your iBook opens for the first time, it should play your intro video and then take you to the introduction chapter. You'll notice that we're in a title slide view of this chapter. We can swipe over to the next chapter by simply dragging our finger over to the right. You can see all of the content that's associated with this chapter underneath it. By touching on the bottom page, you can now swipe from page to page throughout our book. Here we have our tree image that we added in an earlier movie, and you can see as we swipe over from one page to the next, we get a seamless integration. Our text is nicely laid out. We can swipe over to the next page. Here's our image at the bottom with our other layout. On these pages, we haven't changed the header template layout. We can swipe over to some of these next pages, and then we're able to swipe through the various chapters that we've come to. If we look at the Cycle California page, you'll notice that I've got a small white bar above and below my image. That indicates that I need to stretch the image out a little bit more to fully fill that screen. It's hard to tell this from the iBooks Author application. You really need to preview your book on the iPad so you can notice small things like this. Let's go over to the next page. Desert to Sea, that one's looking pretty good. Taste of California, also looking pretty good. Nature Watch. This one looks good in this view, but if we pinch on this page, then it'll drop us down to the table of contents view for this particular chapter. You'll notice that the bird is not showing up in the same alignment. In an earlier movie, we moved the placement of the bird on the chapter page, but we didn't move the placement of the bird on the table of contents page for that chapter. If we scrub over to the next, we can see our Snowboard California, and if we look at the title page for this one, we see our snowboarder in the correct orientation. But again, when we pinch out, the snowboarder is not in the correct orientation here. If we turn the iPad up into a vertical orientation, and we go back to Snowboard California, you'll notice that the title page for this image is also not in the correct orientation. If we turn our iPad up to the portrait view and then pinch in, we're taken to our table of contents page. The table of contents is looking pretty good. All that hard work on our header is really paying off. We can click the small drop-down menu next to Backpack California, and we not only see the listings of all the different sections, but you notice those items that we made heading 1s, those became their own listings inside of the table of contents, so users are able to very quickly jump directly to that section of our book. It's a very helpful tool. As we're still looking in the portrait view, we'll notice there's some other alignment issues that we'll need to deal with. You need to make sure that when you're testing your apps on the iPad, you look at every single page in both the portrait and the landscape perspective, and you pinch out to look at the table of contents for each of the individual pages.